Hello friends, welcome to Insight Learners. So in this video, we shall discuss the interview questions that was asked in the persistent systems. So the role it was for Java backend developer and the interview it was conducted on 26th August 2025. So these are the feedback from the actual interview who has taken. And then so the mode of interview it is virtual and that is technical round, and the role it is for senior Java backend developer, and the tech stack it is Spring Boot microservices and cloud technologies. So you'll get the basic idea not only for this company, so for other company also, like you can expect the similar kind of questions. So they have covered all like Java 11 features, 21 features and all. So even you might encounter the same questions in the upcoming interview, so you can go through these questions. It was divided into Java, Spring Boot, microservices, and the cloud technologies, as well as the coding questions. So we shall see in detail about all these questions and the answers for that. So the first comes the Java part. So in Java part, the main focus was on threads, like how do virtual threads they are introduced in the Java 21. So it differs from the platform threads. So as we know that the platform threads means these are the OS managed one, and these are heavyweight and these are limited in number. And when it comes to the virtual threads, so these are managed by the JVM Java Virtual Machine, and these are lightweight, and then so we can run multiple threads, so they can run concurrently. So you can say these differences, and you can also give examples if you wish. And the second question on advantages of sealed classes when it compared to the abstract classes and the interfaces. So sealed classes means they are sealed, like you cannot extend them. So the classes, so which in which the classes they cannot extend, and advantages is that there is controlled inheritance and the security is there, whereas abstract classes they allow for extension. So then the third question, the record keyword. So this record keyword it was introduced in Java 21, and so how it reduces the boilerplate code in Java. So if you use the record keyword, so it automatically generates the constructors, getters, equal methods, hash code as well as the toString. So not required to manually write or not required to generate. So it automatically generates. And the next question on difference between the optional dot or else and the optional dot or else get. So the optional dot or else method, so it evaluates the value even if it is not needed. And the optional dot or else get, so it evaluates only if the optional is empty. And then so there were around 10 questions on Java. So the fifth question on garbage collection, so how it differs from G1 GC and ZGC. So the G1 garbage collection and the Z garbage collection, so the you can mention like the heap size of that. So the heap size of that it is 4 TB, and the G1 GC it is used for the general purpose. When it comes to the ZGC, so uh, the heap size is about 16 terabytes and it is used for large heaps. And then next question on the usage of pattern matching for the instance of keyword in Java 16 plus. So the instance of keyword, so it eliminates the explicit casting and it makes it more readable. So it improves readability. And then the next question on differences between the hash map and the concurrent hash map. So the hash map, so it is not thread safe, like it is used in single threaded environment and it also allows one null key. And then concurrent hash map, so it's a thread safe and we can use it in multi-threaded environment, and it doesn't allow so no null keys or values. So you can remember these key differences and all, so that you can elaborate it and you can tell in the interview. And the next question, like how do Java handles string pooling and what are its benefits? So the string literals they are basically stored in the string pool, and so these literals there, so it reuses these if there are identical strings, so it reuses it like from the string pool, so that it saves the memory, and also benefit is that there is memory efficiency. And the next question on switch expressions. So how do they improve the readability? So Java 14 plus they introduced the switch expression pattern. So by using that, it has made more concise, and also we can return value with that. And the last question on Java was like explain the role of fork or join framework. So the fork it will split the task into the subtask, and the join means it combines the results. And for example, you can mention it works like a merge sort algorithm. So in merge sort also we'll split the first we'll split and then we'll join. So we'll merge it. So you can mention that. So these were the total 10 questions on Java. And the next part was Spring Boot. So the Spring and Spring Boot. So what is the role of the so you can go to the at the annotations like different annotations and their uses and properties. So what is the role of at the rate configuration properties in the Spring Boot? So that you can mention it is used to bind the external configuration. It can be the ML file YML application.yml and the properties file to the objects to Java objects. And the next question, how does the at the rate lazy annotation work in Spring Boot? Work in Spring. So the at the rate lazy, it's one of the annotations. So it avoids unnecessary resource loading and it improves the startup time. And then difference between the application context and the web application context. So the application context, it is the Spring container, and whereas web application context, it is specialized for the web apps, and it's the extension of the application context. And how do you configure the database connection pooling in the Spring Boot? So for this you can so in Spring Boot the auto configures pooling, it is done by the Hikari CP. You can mention that, and why we use is that it is fast and reliable. And the next question on Spring Boot actuator, like how it is used for the production monitoring. So the Spring Boot actuator, it provides the production ready endpoints for monitoring as well as for management. So like you can also mention how to use like /actuator /env, so you can specify the environment dev QA like that. So you can elaborate more, you can explain with example and all. And the next question, how do you configure the custom error handling for the REST APIs in Spring Boot? So for this, you need to use the annotations at the rate controller advice and the at the rate so annotation exception handler. And so the next question, like what is the use of at the rate profile in the Spring Boot application? So at the rate profile is that it activates beans only for the specific environments. It can be dev whichever environment you want. So it activates bean for that respective environments. And what are some strategies for improving the startup time of the Spring Boot application? So as we discussed earlier, so the lazy at the rate lazy annotation. So for heavy beans, it improves the startup time. So you can mention at the rate lazy annotation, and then you can also use the at the rate profile. And the next question on how does Spring Boot integrate with the cloud configuration services. So to integrate with the cloud, you need to use the Spring Cloud Config Server. So this will centralize the config management. And then how do you secure the microservices API with the OAuth2 in Spring Security? So for this, you need to use the Spring Security as well as the authorization server. So these were the 10 questions on Spring Boot, and the next part on microservices. So in microservices, the main topic like you can prepare on asynchronous communication and the synchronous communication. So the difference between that, like synchronous means it is tightly coupled and you'll get the immediate response, and also the caller they must handle the failures directly, and scalability is limited by the connections. When it comes to asynchronous communication, so it's loosely coupled, and the responses they might be delayed, and it is highly scalable. So you can mention these key points. And how do you implement service discovery in microservices architecture? So you can say what is service discovery, and then the types of that, like how you'll implement they have mentioned. So you can mention, so the service discovery, it enables the dynamic location of the services without even hard coding the URLs. And we have the client server discovery and the server side discovery. So for the client side discovery, so the client query a registry with the help of Eureka server, and then in server side discovery, so we'll have a load balancer in which it will take that request or it will query the registry and it will send back the, so it routes the request. So for that you are going to use the tools like Spring Cloud, Netflix, Eureka, so which is the popular one, and the Zookeeper. And the next question on Saga pattern and when should you use it. So the Saga pattern, it mainly manages the distributed transactions across the microservices. So the main use of this is that it will break the larger transaction into the smaller steps, and then so you can mention the process like how it works and all. So each step we call it as a local transaction. So if one of the step fails, then the transaction is rolled back. And then how do you design the microservices to avoid the tight coupling? So for this we have various approaches. You can either use the event-driven architecture to communicate via events, not direct calls, or you can use the service registry as we discussed earlier, to avoid the hard-coded URLs, we can use this discovery for this. And we have database per service architecture, like there is no any shared database, like each service will have its own data. And apart from that, the popular another one is circuit breaker. So this is one of the popular interview questions. They'll ask like circuit breakers. So in order to for resilience patterns to avoid the failures, we can use the circuit breakers. So for that resilience 4J, so you can mention the examples and everything for this. So this is the complete questions on Java Spring Boot microservices. And then the coding questions, there were three coding questions, like program to check if the binary tree is height balanced or not, and then implement a function to find the longest palindrome substring in a given string. So you need to tell the approach and you are going to write the pseudocode or the method for that, and write a method to perform the level order traversal of the binary tree. So these were the three coding questions. And next comes the other part. So mix of questions on SQL and cloud technologies and some general questions. So like how do you configure the persistent storage in Kubernetes pods, and difference between the topic and a key in message brokers, and then write a SQL query to get the nth highest salary from the employee table. And again same question, like question on AWS, like how do you secure the sensitive configuration, sensitive data like DB passwords in the Docker or Kubernetes, and the role of IAM policies in AWS, and how do you perform the blue-green deployment in Kubernetes. So these were other questions apart from Spring Boot and microservices, like some questions on AWS. You need to prepare on AWS also, and some SQL coding questions. So they'll ask you to write the query for the same. So these were the total questions that was asked. So you can make a note of this, or if you need the questions, then you can just follow the Telegram channel. So we'll upload the questions there and with the solution. So you can go to that and you can prepare it for your next interview. So thank you friends for watching, and do subscribe our channel for more such updates.